A first apartment. Kitty O'Toole had her first job. She had finished business school. The school had helped her get the job. Kitty was living with her parents. She wanted an apartment of her own. She told her parents, "I have finished school and I have a job. I want to be on my own. I have made up my mind. I am going to move into an apartment soon." Her father said, "You can't afford an apartment. You don't make enough money to pay for food and rent. Here at home, you don't pay any rent for your room. You just pay for food." "We think you're too young to live by yourself," said Kitty's mother. "It isn't safe these days. We want you to live at home. You are safer here." But Kitty O'Toole had made up her mind. "I'm 19 years old," she told them. "It's time for me to be on my own. You can't keep me here at home forever. On Sunday, I'm going to look for an apartment." Kitty looked at the ads for apartments in the Sunday paper. Kitty liked to swim. She hoped to find an apartment in a building with a swimming pool. But she soon gave up that idea. The rent for those apartments was too much for her. There were only a few places that she was able to afford, and those were not in a very safe part of the city. Kitty went to look at those places anyway. She left home before noon. She spent Sunday afternoon looking at apartments, but she didn't find one she liked. "What shall I do?" Kitty asked herself. "I don't like the apartments I can afford, and I can't afford the ones I like. I need a roommate to share the rent." Kitty started looking for a roommate. In the next few weeks, she spoke to people at work and at church. She spoke to friends from school. "Do you know anyone who needs a roommate?" she asked. But no one did. At last, a friend told Kitty that Jane Hoover was looking for a roommate. Kitty had met Jane at a school party, but she didn't know her very well. Kitty O'Toole phoned Jane Hoover at work the next morning. They agreed to have lunch together that noon. Kitty and Jane liked each other right away. They learned that they liked many of the same things. They liked the same kind of music, and they both liked to swim. Jane said that she liked peace and quiet. "Me too," Kitty said. "Sometimes I stay up late at night, but I play my radio quietly, and I don't give wild parties." Kitty added, "I like to spend some time by myself. I want a roommate who will understand that." Jane said she felt the same way. Kitty and Jane agreed to look for an apartment together. They spent 3 weekends looking. They looked at 22 apartments. Some cost too much. Some didn't look very safe or clean. Late one Sunday afternoon, Jane said, "I'm tired. Let's quit for today." "Oh, come on," Kitty said. "Let's try one more." The next apartment they looked at was just right. It had 2 bedrooms. From the living room, there was a view of a park. The kitchen needed paint, but the building was clean and quiet, and the rent was not too high. Kitty and Jane asked the landlord a lot of questions. "Is there a bus stop near here? Are there any stores? Is the building safe at night?" The landlord answered yes to those questions. Then Kitty asked, "There isn't a swimming pool in the building, is there?" "No," the landlord said, "but there is a pool in the park." The 2 young women made up their minds in a hurry. "We'll take it," they said. They paid the rent and got the key. Kitty and Jane moved into the apartment together. They shared the cost of rent, telephone, lights, and food. Each of them got a bed from home for her bedroom. Kitty's parents let her take some dishes and pans. The Hoovers let Jane take a rug and an old toaster. Jane had her own TV, and Kitty had a computer. They shopped for a used sofa, a table, and some chairs. They made end tables from boxes. Jane made curtains, and Kitty painted the kitchen. After they had worked hard for 2 months, the apartment looked nice. Kitty and Jane were pleased. My parents said I was too young to be on my own, said Kitty. My parents said the same thing, said Jane. Parents want to keep you at home forever, don't they? Yes, they do, said Kitty. Let's ask them to dinner soon. We'll show them that we were right. Next, feel free to write 1 or 2 sentences to answer each question in the comments. Number 1. Why did Kitty want an apartment of her own? Number 2. Why did her parents want her to live at home? Number 3. Why did Kitty look for a roommate? Number 4. What kinds of things did Kitty and Jane both like? Number 5. What kind of apartment did they rent? Number 6. What costs did Kitty and Jane share? And number 7. In what ways did they get the things they needed for their apartment?